Jewelry for a lot of people, there's no price that they could ever sell their jewelry for. It's legitimately priceless. You know, it was handed down through generations. It's something that their grandma gave to them, and to them that's like a memory, a physical memory. And seeing them, you know, when it breaks, fixing it for them, and seeing their face and seeing how happy they are to get that memory back, that's what keeps them going.
Thank you for taking the time to listen to this week's episode. I am David Cobbett, and I have another great, amazing Jewish guest ready to discuss his personal brand. Before we get started, make sure that you are already following at Schmoozing Time on Instagram and TikTok. Get ready to lock in to today's episode because it's going to be a fun one. College is a very, very fun time. Some of us think it's the best 4 years of our life. Some of us think it's the worst. One thing that is guaranteed to happen in college is change. I know for me, I've changed a lot as a person compared to my high school self throughout my college experience. To talk about his transformation throughout college, please welcome to my show the man with a not so normal college experience, Josh Berkowitz. Josh, how are we feeling today?
Good, very good. Just, kind of amped for spring break, but excited to be here today. I really am.
Thanks for coming on to the show, man. We're very excited to have you on. So Josh, as I explained to you in our call before, we like to start the segment with a little rapid fire Jewish geography profile. All right. So give you 3 quick hitting introduction questions. And then we'll take it from there. You ready?
Yep, of course.
All right, man. So Josh, first of all, where are you from?
I am from 45 minutes north of Philadelphia in a town called Richboro. And right now I live 15 minutes north of there. North of Philly, outside of Philly. It's like a thing in Pitt. It's like, where are you from? And if you say outside of Philly, people laugh at you. So yeah, outside of Philly.
There you go.
Yeah.
Josh, where do you go to college and what is your major?
I go to University of Pittsburgh and I'm a finance major.
All right. Love the finance major. Did you do any youth groups while you were younger?
I didn't do I wasn't really involved in the USY or the BBYO that much. We kind of just did our own thing with the synagogue. So it was kind of more insular, but I have my, Jewish friends from way back still.
Okay. And going back to this Philly thing. So obviously Philly has 4 sports teams. Of the 4, which one's your favorite team?
So I would say the only team that I really care about in Philly is actually the Sixers.
Okay.
Yeah, my dad's from New York, so I'm actually a Mets fan and a Giants fan. So,
whoa! You're a Philly guy that likes New York sports?
I'm from outside of Philly, but I like New York sports.
Whoa! So what New York sports teams do you like?
So I just mentioned I'm a really big Mets fan. I don't know, it's right over there, but my keychain has a Mets thing on it. And then I'm a really big Giants fan as well. And then the Sixers, for basketball, how I think about basketball nowadays is it's more about the players. Yeah. So I'm a fan of players more than I am necessarily a team. Okay. They would call me a bronze sexual. I have one of those. But I root for the Sixers. I want them to win, but that's the only Philly team I ever want to win.
Okay. So can we both agree that the Eagles suck and their fans suck?
I mean, very well. You're around them, I'm sure, a lot, and just as much as me. I my friends text about the Eagles as much as they can, and so I'm just sick of the Eagles. Don't get me started. The Eagles song, it makes my blood boil.
Yeah. I can't. After what happened in 2017, 2018, whatever year it was, when we went to the length with Case Keenum and we thought we were going to win and we got 38-7. And then Eagles go back to Minnesota and they kick the Patriots' butts in the Viking Stadium and win a Super Bowl on their home turf.
I forgot that you guys were literally about to play a home Super Bowl.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. Of course.
Wow.
And of course it's the Vikings.
Of course.
And also the funny thing is that I think it was 2 years later was when the Rams won the Bucs won their Super Bowl
at home in Tampa. Yeah.
And then the year after that, the Rams won their Super Bowl at home. Like, why, God? Like, why couldn't it be the Vikings? Like, come on, man. It's unfortunate.
The Vikings can't have nice things, nor do you fans have. Yeah, sad.
Nope, absolutely not. All right, and final Jewish geography profile question for you, Josh. What fraternity are you in?
I am in Sigma Alpha Mu, Sammy.
Oh, all right. So let's get into the Sigma Alpha Mu chapter at Pitt.
All right. Yeah.
So you were the sitting president last year. Can you kind of talk about what you did as president and building Sammy from the ground up?
Yeah. I think I'm just going to start with day one, Sammy, from my experience, and then the story proceeds from there. So, I went to school here during COVID year, and I think you did too. It was kind of a mess. And second semester, I was like, all right, I'm going to save money and be at home because I have home friends and it's just as fun. So basically, I was like, all right, well, if I'm going to be home, I might as well create connections somehow. So I decided to join a fraternity, and I knew some people in the Sammy at Pitt. They were recruiting me even in the fall, and it was like, all right, this is the only option for me. These are my guys. I like the older guys. I was friends with guys who were seniors, juniors, sophomores, everyone. But I didn't realize, because I wasn't there, and I kind of just was in the moment, I didn't realize that the frat was, let's just say, not in a good place. I mean, I rushed with 2 other guys, and the frat was in an inflection point. It was during COVID. The leadership at the time was like, we're going to follow all the COVID rules because we should. And like, I'm not going to be like, they shouldn't. But at the end of the day, other frats didn't follow every rule, and they recruited kids and had functions. Like, there were no parties that semester. Like, a fraternity without parties, I mean, don't get me wrong, there's so much more to parties, but like, how do you like recruit kids? And so that was that. And then I came back sophomore year, and I got thrown into the fire. A couple weeks in, I remember we had a chapter, and they were like, yeah, we should probably disband the fraternity. We should just be a club, so we don't have to adhere to IFC. And we were like, all right, let's try. So we tried. I was thrust into being the vice president in my first like real semester there. Wasn't ready for it, along with school, my first real school experience, and not like online BS, if you know what I mean. But yeah, so we knew some kids who were coming to Pitt, and we got them to rush, and it kind of snowballed from there. Again, I did not do this alone. You can never do anything in life alone if you're trying to achieve something. I'm big on that. Big on team. We just talked about sports. Like, being on a team is so important. But yeah, no. So basically, that ended that sophomore year, we had like 20, 30 guys compared to we had like 10 active guys, which is like bad. Got to junior year, at the end of the sophomore year, they were like, Josh, you should be the president. And I kind of ducked from the responsibility. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to stay vice president. I know how to do it. Whatever. I'll let my friend be the president. I don't want to go deep into it because it doesn't really matter. But at the end of the day, the president, he had a lot of personal problems with a lot of the other guys in the fraternity. Some were warranted, some were, a little whatever. It doesn't matter. I quote unquote staged a coup, but at the end of the day, it was supported by the fraternity. I was like, listen, I should probably be the president, as I should have been. There were fights happening in the fraternity. When things like that happen, like it's not good. So I was the president for most of last spring, and now it's at a point where, we just got a 15-person pledge class, which is like insane for almost any frat at Pitt, but especially a frat where like that's like 30% of our population of our fraternity. So it was, it's been a long ride, and it's nice that I'm graduating kind of on top,
Nice. Yeah, man. I mean, listen, like building a fraternity from having, I think you said 6-7 guys to, 30, 40, like it's awesome. It's tough. I mean, I'm in a frat here at Maryland, and I mean, obviously it's much different because Greek life is very different at different places, but like it's tough being in fraternity and trying to get guys to rush you, and with all the politics and everything. I mean, I don't know how much you heard about this, but my fraternity ZBT here just got accused of like doing the dumbest things that like absolutely weren't true, and
I heard, yeah.
and like it's just ridiculous, like how like Greek life things spread like a wildfire. Like is that kind of the same at Pitt? Like same deal?
I mean, even more so at Pitt because it's so insular. I mean, like there's only like less than 10% of the population in Greek life here. So, you kind of know everyone in Greek life, or you know of them, or you know someone who knows them. That's kind of how it works. So it's, I'm sure if it spreads at a school like Maryland, it could spread so much easier at a school like Pitt.
True. And how many fraternities are at Pitt? Is it like
it? And that's the thing that I've always like. I rant about this. Like my Jewish complaining comes out. It's like, why are there's like it's like 10 to 15 fraternities. It's closer to 15, which is ridiculous. There should be like 9 or something like that. The fact that there's like more than 10 is kind of ridiculous. Some frats have 10 guys. Some frats have 20. It's kind of really just spread out.
I mean, listen, man, like Greek life is, I think it's a dying kind of college experience, and it's a little sad in the sense that like, it's definitely fun. Like I can tell you like Greek life has enhanced my college experience, but like I can understand why, colleges are less inclined to have Greek life just because of all the hazing scandals and everything. And
there were always risks, but now the risks are, with social media, it's kind of just like, someone could post a video of something or send a video, and then as we talked about, it could spread like wildfire, and that can damage a whole fraternity. While before, it was all words. It was all he said, she said. Now it's like we saw it.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right. So Josh, before we get into kind of like some of the positive experiences that you've had in college, I want to talk about some of the struggles you've dealt with while in college. So obviously building the fraternity up is tough. I'm sure it was a grind, but you mentioned to me that you had some other struggles. Why don't you go into a little bit of detail, as much as you feel like, about some of the struggles you've had, being a college student, adapting to the new college environment?
Yeah. So I was someone who, like in high school, me and my high school buddies, I mean, one of them, shout out Bennett Bobrin.
Shout out Bennett Bobrin.
Shout out Bennett Bobrin. We did not drink in high school. I mean, like if we did, it was a tiny bit. What we did was we watched sports and maybe did a little bit, but basically we just watched sports. And then, we got to college and kind of got introduced to everything. Okay. So, and freshman year is the year at Pitt, especially when like, because there's not a lot of party people who come to Pitt. So you go to Pitt, you're a freshman in like these dorms. That's where you learn how to drink, how not to drink. And I didn't really get that experience because of COVID. I wasn't like really fiending, so I wasn't like trying to get alcohol as any way as I could. So I didn't drink freshman year of college, which is a time when like usually you drink. Sophomore year comes around, not only am I faced with real college school and basically helping to run a fraternity, but I'm also faced with like, okay, now you're drinking. And I just didn't know how to do it. I mean, like it wasn't the worst deal in the world, but I got in some trouble. And that's really the problem, is I got in some trouble. I was stupid. It wasn't necessarily that was like the biggest problem in the world. I mean, I was studying till 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock every night during the week, work hard, play hard. I just didn't know how to play hard. And I learned, and yeah, now I'm like an old man. I like my beer and a little bit of whiskey, but that's basically it.
Wow. And how did you kind of recover from that drinking stage where, you to an extent had issues with alcohol and getting too drunk? Like what was that recovery like? What was that recovery process like?
The recovery process was basically just, as I mentioned before, like I had a team. I needed a team. I couldn't do it alone. I have a good family and support system, and my friends, especially the ones in the fraternity, they cared about me. And a lot of what they would do, and this really worked. And maybe it wasn't the totally right thing, but they would make fun of me and kind of like I was known as like that, that kid. And it worked. And all of a sudden, the responsibility got to me. I had a girlfriend that I met in Israel. We can go into a little bit, whatever. So these types of things kind of just made me wake up, and yeah.
Wow. I mean, listen, man, I'm glad that you were able to have like a support network of people that, care about you and got you straight. Cause like now you're a level-headed guy and you got a lot going on, right?
Yeah. I mean, now I can't do these things. Like, it's just not possible. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. So how much of your drinking experience, like that experience of like where you're kind of like going downhill, and then you get back to school, you're starting to find yourself again, and then you realize, that there's all these Jewish services, these Jewish organizations on campus that can kind of help you find your Jewish identity. So how much of like that kind of phase where you were kind of down bad, how much did finding those Jewish organizations and people that like you could relate to on campus help you?
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head there. I mean, that's basically, I talked about the recovery process, but I didn't mention the Jewish aspect, and I should have. But not only am I involved in Chabad, and I'm good friends with a lot of people there, but I also worked for Hillel. I was a campus ambassador. I would take kids out to coffee, talk to them, schmooze as we're doing, and just kind of be a tentacle on campus. Wasn't the most involved in Hillel, but the fact that I worked for them, I kind of was forced into that environment. So I got to see that part, and then I got to be a part of Chabad, where our fraternity is very involved in Chabad. My best friends are. A lot of them went to Chabad or still go there. And that was such a big experience. And, last year, junior year, this was months after my breakup, I was like, let me go to services Saturday morning. And then it kind of just snowballed from there. Again, I'm not someone who goes every single Saturday, but it's something that if I have nothing else to do on Saturday morning, then that's where I'm at. And it feels right. I mean, growing up, I was always at the synagogue. It was kind of like our second home. So kind of just feels right and felt natural to like find it again in college in a fun way. I go Friday nights as much as possible. Going tonight, there's a New York Jewish deli night. They're having a bunch of food. Like, that's where I'm going right after this. Yeah. No, so it's something that's really been helpful and such a positive experience.
Do you prefer Hillel or Chabad?
Yeah, it's an easy answer for me. I thought about it, but I was like, yeah, no. Chabad is just, for me, it's more of a family atmosphere. No matter what Hillel tries to do, there's nothing like Chabad because it's literally run by a family. So, and at Pitt, the rabbi, shout out Rabbi Shmuly, he is an enigma of a person. I've never met anyone like him. He is an amazing teacher, salesman, and just person. And so he's, and he's fun. He's really fun. Like, went to Israel with him. He's a fun person. And so for me, I have a biased take about it because of my experience.
So why don't you talk about your Israel experience going with Chabad? I mean, I went to, and again, this differs for every school, but I went my Israel trip was through our Hillel, and then I did onward. So I was in Israel for 2.5 months, pretty much all Hillel ran. But talk about your Israel experience in going with Chabad and coming from Chabad perspective. I feel like that's a very different kind of Israel experience.
Yeah. The one thing that just immediately comes to mind is when we went to the mikveh, and it was such, did you go to the mikveh?
I did not go to mikveh. Wait, Josh, why don't we explain what a mikveh is?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, no, it's so basically it is like a little pool / body of water that Jewish people, it's kind of there's like a baptism. I think a lot of people know what the baptism, it's kind of like a baptism for Jews, except you don't do it just when you're a baby or when you become a Christian. You do it just, I don't know the exact the times you do it, but you do it just to clean yourself. There's a bunch of rules, but that I don't know. But yeah, it's like a cleansing bath for Jewish people. That part, I mean, it was cool. Don't get me wrong, because I've never been in one. But it was more one of the guys who ran the mikvah program. He was just like this like eclectic guy. His name was like Josh too. He was like a Jew like me, you know, like from Northeast, the Northeast coast, who kind of just went to Israel and like fell in love, and you know, he was cool. So yeah, the Chabad experience is very. Some people say like it can be a little brainwashing, and I can see that. But at the end of the day, it never really felt like that. It just felt natural. Being at the Kotel, you know, the Western Wall, on Friday night Shabbat services, like that was an experience like no other.
Man. I get goosebumps thinking about, you know, how literally from around the world there are thousands and thousands and thousands of Jews that show up to the Kotel every Friday night, rain or shine, war or not. Like, it's such an amazing experience to be there, and like the atmosphere is unmatched. If you've never been to the Kotel for Friday night and you've been in Israel, like you've missed out. Like, I'm sorry. Like the atmosphere is ridiculous. Am I right, Josh?
No, it's surreal. That's the only way to describe it. I mean, when I was there, like the birds were circling, and like I kept asking, I'm like, why are these birds circling just here? Like, I know there's a bunch of people here, but like it was so like spiritual and like just kind of like an out of body. Like, I don't feel like I'm on planet Earth right now.
Right. No, it's a very, very crazy experience, and I've been fortunate enough where I've gone to Israel 4 times now and had that experience where I've gone every single trip. I believe I've gone to the Kotel on Friday night, and it's like highlight of my trip every time. You know, we talked a little bit about your Chabad experience. We talked a little bit about your Israel experience, but I want to talk about something you do that not a lot of college students, you know, Shabbat observant not a lot of college students do in their time in college, right? You take it upon you to not touch your phone on Friday nights. And this is something, coming from a modern Orthodox background, this is something that I really, really, really struggle with. I mean, I think it's easy to say that like everybody at this point is addicted to their phones. I don't think I've met a person that's not addicted to their phone. But I mean, for me, the biggest issue with Shabbat is not the family aspect, not the food aspect, not the davening aspect, the praying aspect, not like none of that. In theory, I love Shabbat, but I can't not be on electronics. I'm being vulnerable here. Like, you can judge me, whatever, it's fine. But Josh, I want you to talk about why you're making the conscious effort to not be on your phone during Friday night of Shabbat.
Yeah. And I need to clarify, it's not a perfect process. It's not like, you know, when the sun goes down, I turn off my phone. Like, you know, there's a saying, it's an Israeli Jewish saying, it's called Bli Neder. I mean, it's no promises. So how I go throughout right now is no promises. You know, I've lived my life up until last year using my phone all the time. So it's been an adjusting period, but like when the time permits and when, you know, everything goes right, I'm not on my phone on Friday nights. I try not to be, because it's just it's kind of like a dopamine cleanse, but also at the same time I'm very much connected with, you know, the moment and just being there. You know, last weekend I had to like go to a concert on a Friday night, because like I'm not someone right now who's like changing my whole lifestyle around this. It's just like there. So I went to a concert last Friday night, and you know, you had to get your phone for a ticket. So I used my phone for a little bit to get the ticket, but then I shut it off once I got in the concert, because I didn't want to be on it during the concert. And then I didn't use it until 7 o'clock on Saturday. And like, that's ideal, but you know, it doesn't happen like that. At the end of the day, I just think we're on our phones way too much. I am, and it's nice for me to have just a break. That's all. It's good for me. If it's good for me.
I wish that like I had the self-discipline that you do to not be on your phone. I mean, listen, I know my parents would be very happy if I did this, but like for me, it's a struggle. And and like you said, like, I'm sure you struggle with it too. Like, in a day and age where we're dependent on electronics, we're dependent on our phones, we're dependent on our computers for everything that we do. It's so hard to even take 25 hours to say, you know what, I'm shutting off everything, and I'm basically going to check out of the world. However, the upside to this is that, like, I feel like when I shut off my phone, and even if it's for a few hours, don't look at my phone, I can actually live in the moment, and B, just kind of be like in a world of my own where, like, I don't have to worry about anything. Like, whatever is happening on my phone is happening on my phone. Like, I don't really care. But it's just it's so hard to do, like I've been saying over and over again. And it's really great that, like, you are able to even have, like, some sort of self-discipline, even though it's not every week. So do you plan on, in the future, keeping Shabbat fully?
Yeah, it's just like I tried to do this in the middle of my college career and experience, and it was kind of like, okay, you can't just like kind of like completely change who you are in a 180 in like the span of a couple weeks. But I know in my heart over time, especially once I like get a family and all that stuff, like I there's no reason for me to be on my phone Friday nights and into Saturday mornings. I know that going forward.
I love it. And I think one of the things that's important about Shabbat, even if it's not, being on your phones, being with your family, whatever it is, I think the essence of Shabbat, when it comes down to it, is doing something different, right? Because that is God's day of rest, right? So if you're able to rest in some way, shape, or form, then I think, in my eyes, like, you're doing Shabbat. Like, everybody does Shabbat in their own ways.
I'm going to interject. So the rabbi Shmuly that I just mentioned earlier, we were like hanging out. He was like doing his little spiels, and he was saying, like, at the end of the day, as long as you just make some conscious effort of, like, even if it's not being on your phone for 2 hours, just something that you do differently, and compared to the rest of the week, and something that is considered rest for you. Obviously, he adheres to the strict rules, and he wants everyone to do that, but like, that's just not possible for everyone. So like, that kind of stuck with me. It was like, even if I cannot be on my phone, I'm not going to be on my phone.
I love it. So let's move on to the next so-called Jewish topic, and that being jewelry, right? I'm not trying to sound anti-Semitic here by any means, so I'm sorry if that offended anybody, but jewelry and Jews are, let's be honest, it's a little synonymous. Like, we all know a jeweler that's Jewish, and Josh over here actually started his own jewelry business. So Josh, let's talk about why you decided to start Berko Jewelry.
So I'll start from day one. A fraternity brother of mine got me a job going into my sophomore year of college doing door-to-door sales for Verizon. I did the trainings, I did it for like 2 days. During those 2 days, the rejection, that I can deal with. It's whatever, getting a bunch of doors slammed in your face. But it's I got chased by like these like big black German shepherds that, I literally was chased by them and had to like hide. Some like naked grandma came and was like, and the one thing we sold during those 2 days was like to like this old lady who like was not very coherent, like basically senile. And like, I was like, if I'm really going to be making money this summer by selling cable and internet to old people just so we can make a dime, like, this is not what I want to do. I don't want to be outside for 10 hours. Again, here comes the Jewish complaining. But I was like, all right, well, I can't quit. So I need to figure out something. So I was walking down Forbes Avenue. It's like the main road at Pitt. At Maryland, was it College Avenue or yeah. So same thing. And I saw a sign and it said now hiring. And I was like, oh, okay. And it was a jewelry store. It was a jewelry store that used to be here, whatever. I walked in, And it was like this Israeli guy. I mean, he's literally an Israeli like Russian guy, like as Israeli as it gets. Like was in the IDF, and he came to America, and he'd been in jewelry for like 40 years. And I was like, listen, like I have this job I don't like. I see you're hiring. He saw something in me. I think it was obviously the Jewish aspect, and he was like, all right, well, here's what I'm gonna do. 3 weeks, you got to work here. And you won't get paid until after those 3 weeks are done. And I'll see if, we're continuing this. And I was like, all right, screw it. I'm not going to be making that much money anyway from door-to-door sales. So might as well do this. And the rest is history. I mean, basically what I did was I learned how to make rings. There's a whole process, starts from like this abrasive material and ends with polishing it and cleaning it. There's a bunch of steps in between. I know it like the back of my hand now. It's like, shooting a basketball or riding a bike. Once you just know it, you know it. And there's some videos on my Instagram. And then going into my junior year, so we're talking a summer later, through Jewish connections as well, I got a like internship / job for the summer at a luxury jewelry store right by my home. And I got to see the whole other side of the business. I got to see the watches, Ben Simmons' agent came in one time with like this like $100,000 piece, and just like seeing really cool stuff like that. And I was like, all right, I know, like that was like the best summer I've had in college, not only because I had a girlfriend that summer, but because I was doing what I loved. And I woke up every day being like, I'm so excited to go to work. And people ask, why jewelry though? Like it's kind of weird. And what I tell people is this: jewelry for a lot of people, there's no price that they could ever sell their jewelry for. It's legitimately priceless. It was handed down through generations. It's something that their grandma gave to them, and to them that's like a memory, a physical memory. And seeing them, when it breaks, fixing it for them, and seeing their face and seeing how happy they are to get that memory back, that's what keeps them going. It's a little cheesy, cliche. I don't care. That's why I love it. And also I like the colors, and it's freaking cool, man. It's jewelry. I mean, like the watches, Ben Simmons' agent coming in, like that shit's all cool.
What's something that a lot of people don't really know about the jewelry business? Like what's like, I guess like the best kept secret, something that's like super obvious that people don't really understand about jewelry? Like what can you tell us about jewelry that's like pretty interesting that I wouldn't know?
So it's not just like selling engagement rings to people or selling, a necklace for Valentine's Day. Like, don't get me wrong, that's a big part of the job, gifts for whatever. But at the end of the day, there's so much you have to know.
Yeah.
It's like kind of like being a lawyer, in terms of like being a lawyer, whatever case you're working on, you have to know everything about that case. You have to know, if you're working on a personal injury, lawsuit, you have to know everything about, their that ankle or whatever. It doesn't matter. So in jewelry, you have to know like just about like the clarity of the gemstone, to where this watch was made, to at the end of the day, it's kind of like a lot like finance in terms of its relationships. So you have to like memorize people's faces and names, where they're from, what their personality's like, and like that's the biggest part of the job. And so that's something that I'm good at, is because I just talk to people. I mean, that's why I'm here. We're schmoozing, and I always schmooze. So I would say the biggest thing is being a jeweler is kind of like being a lawyer, except you're not fixing people's problems. They're spending their extra discretionary income on you.
Right. No, I think it's a very good point. And to go back to your point about being a lawyer, like I feel like that's a very like interesting comparison, because like a lawyer, like you said, like you got to know your stuff. Like being in the jewelry business, like you can get scammed so easily if you don't know what you're looking at, what it's made out of. I mean, I think the best jewelry scammers exist in Israel. I don't know if you've ever experienced this, and I talk about this bit all the time, but you're at the shuk, you want to get a necklace, and some guy's hollering at you like, Hello, sir, come here. I have a good price for you. You are a taglit. It is a good price. This is made of gold. Okay, one time, listen to this. I was in Jerusalem with one of my buddies. This was when I went on Alexander Moss, my junior year of high school. Walk into a jewelry store, very nice guy. You know, he's like, "Hey, hello, how are you? You're American? Oh, okay, I give you a good price. Okay, you know, classic Israeli guy." And and he's like, yeah, you know, I have a necklace made of gold for you, 400 shekel. Me and my friend look at each other like, it's a pretty good deal. Gold, real gold, 400 shekel. Okay, whatever, we'll do it. Walk out of the store. Instantly, I look at my necklace. I'm like, this is not gold. This thing weighs like -4 pounds. Like, there's nowhere this is gold. So, taught me a lesson, you know, do your research, like, because you never know. You can get scammed. Like, no offense to Israelis, but like, they like to scam Americans. Like, let's be honest. Like, that's kind of like their shtick, and you know, I'm not falling for it anymore. Going back to Berko Jewelry. So you paused it for a point in time. What are your future plans for Berko Jewelry?
So right now the plan is it's just a plan because I can't really do much right now. I have a financial internship and I'm finishing up college and traveling. So like this is all just thoughts. But the thought is this is how I'm going to start. I'm going to buy like equipment, just, you know, simple polishing equipment, some cleaning supplies. I'm not going to go crazy. I'm going to start simple and build up. And so, but the whole shtick is going to be, not only am I going to try and get, you know, people I know to be like, hey, I'll give you my rings or my earrings to clean, but I'm gonna post like an ASMR on TikTok. Not ASMR, but like, you know, like a before and after of a jewelry being dirty and clean, with some cool music. It's like a thing on TikTok, and I'm gonna try and do that. And so that's where I'm gonna start. And then hopefully we'll get to fixing jewelry and then fixing watches, and then you have a jewelry store. And you know, this is all talk right now. At the end of the day, actions would matter. But I have an investor. Hopefully, it goes through. At the end of the day, I'll use my own money if needed. But I do have an investor. And yeah, it's in motion. I've texted the guy that my old boss who I want the equipment from, and we'll see.
But listen, man, like all the best to you, and making this jewelry stuff happen. So let's go into our final topic now about careers. And one experience in particular I want to highlight in your career is your Bank of New York Mellon internship. All right. So why don't you talk? I mean, Bank of New York Mellon, very reputable company. You know, I'm going to be working at T. Rowe Price next year, and they throw that name around all the time. Why don't you talk about your experience working at such a big corporation like that, and how you kind of felt going out of that internship, what you got out of it, etc.
Yeah. So I'm someone who, you know, all my life, basically up until, you know, basically that time period, I've worked in small businesses, you know, working with a family. You know, you have constant interaction with them and you get to really know them. And then, you know, compare that to working at a big bank. It was just kind of a culture shock. And it's just a very different experience in terms of how you relate to people and how you talk to people. But I learned a lot, and I learned a lot about, you know, private equity and just how a bank works and how specialized each role in the bank is. And the big story that I you know, I like to tell people, and it kind of embodies my experience at BNY, was I was in the bathroom one time, and one of the guys on my team provoked me. And, you know, usually I'm the one talking to people, provoking people. He provoked me in the bathroom and was like, listen, you don't want to be here for more than 3 years. You know, like, get out of here, basically, he said. Otherwise, you'll be miserable. And I could tell he was miserable, and I could just sense the vibe. You know, not every team was going to be bad. You could be put on a good team with good people, and these were good people too. I just knew that it just. And also, at the end of the day, I didn't want to be in Pittsburgh. I love Pittsburgh, but I want to move on with my life in terms of college and kind of go back home and, like, you know, kind of reset. As we talked about, it's been a crazy college experience, and I kind of want to move on from it. And staying in Pittsburgh wouldn't have been great for that. So, yeah, I'm not gonna say where, but I do have other stuff planned, and it will probably be in the Philly area. So, yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. And what would you say? Again, you've been through a lot of career experiences. I mean, you have your jewelry service. You worked at Bank of New York Mellon. What would you say, like, necessary skills that you have? What would you say, like, those skills are, and how do they help you, like, succeed at your career?
The one word that comes to me when you ask this question is trust, because in jewelry, you need to trust your jeweler. When I worked at the accounting firm, obviously that's big trust right there. And then working at a bank, and now where I'm working at, as an intern at a financial advising company, it's all about trust, and that coincides with, relationships. And at the end of the day, that's what has got me to where I am, is being a trusting person who knows how to build a relationship with someone. You could be the best at math or the best at making jewelry, but that at the end of the day, that doesn't really matter. What matters is how you interact with people and how you deal with people. And I can confidently say, like, I could deal with people in a professional setting well.
Gotcha. Very nice. Well, Josh, I think we got everything. We hit everything. I really want to thank you for coming on the podcast today. I think we had a really good conversation. Before we wrap this up, where can people find you on, your socials? I want to promote you here. This is your personal branding, man. Where can people find you?
Of course, it's just right now, like, the social media is like, it's in the works. I don't have a lot of content to post right now, so it's kind of on pause. But just follow my Instagram account, my jewelry Instagram account, Berko Jewelry Services. That's all you need to follow. Another thing I didn't really mention is I kind of shifted away from using Instagram a lot. The scrolling really got to me, and I realized it just wasn't good. So I don't spend a lot of time scrolling, and I don't like people's pictures, or I really barely go in the app. But it's only strictly business now.
I love it. Strictly business. So go follow Berko Jewelry Services. Is it at Berko Jewelry Services? No underscores, no spaces.
That's fine. Yeah.
Awesome.
And again, thank you so much for having me on and shouting me out.
Yeah,
appreciate it a lot.
Of course, man. All right. Thank you guys for listening. Go follow Berko Jewelry Services. Until next time, keep schmoozing.